So welcome to episode 2. We're here today with Natalie, Becoming.nm.
Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm a trauma-informed somatic breathwork practitioner. And I've only recently qualified in that this year, and breathwork is something that I'm so passionate about because I believe that we all have the power within us to change our lives and rewrite our stories, and I feel like breathwork is something that can help us do that.
Oh, I love that. What is breathwork?
So there's loads of different types of breathwork. So you have either ones that can upregulate you, downregulate you, and the one I'm specialised in is conscious connected breathing, and that's like 3 different patterns. So it's like 2-part breathing and 3-part breathing, and with the conscious connected, it kind of quietens the front part of your mind, like your prefrontal cortex, and it allows your subconscious to come alive. So that's where your like memories and emotions and beliefs are stored, and that's how in a conscious connected breathing journey we are able to like rewire our brain and like release stored traumas and emotions and beliefs and change them and like create a new reality. And that's why I'm so passionate about that, because I believe so many of our Joe Dispenza is someone I'm really interested in, and he speaks about that 95% of our memories and all is in our subconscious mind. Like, where 95% is unconscious, so only 5% of our like weekend day we're only conscious. So everything that we believe and have stored is all subconscious, and we're just kind of walking about on autopilot. So when we go into like a breathwork journey, we're able to let that come alive, and then process stored emotions and our traumas and like rewire them.
That's so interesting. And what does it entail for your breathwork classes? Like, what happens in them? I watched videos and they kind of scare me. Like, they look scary, when people are like really crying or like screaming and stuff. I'm like, oh my god,
I think that's what they're portraying on Instagram, and sometimes that can cause fear when you go into like a session. But I think everyone's journey is different, and everyone's experience is completely different. So sometimes watching that might like cause fear, but if you just, what happens is entirely up to you and your intention going into it, and sometimes people will fall asleep, and that's exactly what their body needed in that moment. And maybe if you are someone who suppresses like stored emotions like anger or shame or guilt or anything, sometimes that can cause like an emotional race, and then that will cause like to have a big reaction. It's entirely up to the person and what they've kind of dealt with in their lives.
And you're there too, so you could probably be able to tell like if someone's going like a certain way.
Yeah, like I'm there to guide you and hold you and support you in whatever way you need. And one thing I always remind people is that it's their journey and they have full control of it, and that everything is an invitation, and I don't force anything on anybody. And if they feel like something's too much, then I would tell them just to come back to like a slower breathing pattern.
And how does the breath, like, it's so interesting that your breath can do that to you. Like, how does that work? How is your breath being able to get you there?
I read a book, it's James Nestor, and he speaks about how breathing is like the lost art. We're breathing wrong, all of us, and the whole society is so stressed because we're breathing into our chest, whereas we should be breathing deeply, like expanding our diaphragm, so breathing into our belly, so that we can like be more like calm and not as stressed. But all of us are breathing so shallowly into our chest,
Like you're breathing just to breathe. You're
not
actually
we're not like
your
breath.
breath.
We're not focusing on our breath. And there's so much research on how our breath can literally just change our lives and change our physiology. So when you're like breathing deeply and stuff, you're able to change your physiology, which changes your energy, and then you can change your life with that. But for the conscious connected breathing, it allows you to just go into the body and access the body, and that's where a lot of our traumas and things are stored. And I believe that our body holds the wisdom to a lot of things, and I feel like as a society we're living from the neck up, and nobody really has that connection with our body, and the breath allows us to feel into that and like go into our body and process what we've maybe pushed down or ignored for years.
I think that's so important too, to actually just like live the trauma. Like, I would be real bad for just pushing things in the back of my mind. Like, if something hurts too much, I'm like, oh, ignore that, get rid of that. Where when you actually go through it and I think you give yourself more grace too, because you're learning why
Mm.
you act certain ways, and you're
Yeah.
giving yourself the grace where you're not saying, I'm weird, I'm awkward, but you realise why you're like that.
Yeah. We went travelling and I was on a retreat, and there was like a little introduction to breathwork. So I had experienced it there, but it wasn't as intense. And then when I had came home from travelling, there was a girl and I seen that she was doing like a circle and she had breathwork in it. And that was the first time I'd like properly done like a conscious connected breathing. Um and that experience kind of like showed me who I really was and the connection to myself. And like I feel like I seen the light when I went into that session. And in that moment I felt like I knew I had to share this modality to our society, because I just feel like we're such a sad and hurt society, you know. And that was 2 years ago. So it took me 2 years to actually qualify in it, you know. And then I just believed, I kept searching outside of myself for things like I would have done like all these psychedelics and other drugs to try and like heal me or fix me. And one thing I learned is that we don't actually need fix, we just need compassion towards ourselves to
And to
understand
learn.
ourselves. Yeah. And breathwork was something that allowed me to get that inner connection, and I didn't have to take a drug, you know, it was just within me already.
Mm-hmm.
And I would always feel like when I did take like other things like psychedelics and stuff, I always had that fear, whereas when I'm going into a breathwork journey, there's no fear because I know I'm in control, you know?
Yeah, it's not an actual substance that's
Yeah.
taking you there. You're completely, and it's something you could probably do anywhere.
Yeah.
Where like if you feel like you need it, you can just do it. Is it that way?
Yeah, and when you're in a breathwork journey too, like if there was something happening, like maybe a fire or something, we're able to just say, right, let's get up and leave this room, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're in like a psychedelic journey, that would be kind of impossible, you know.
Yeah, because you see videos of people in Thailand doing, is it ayahuasca or something?
Ayahuasca, yeah.
Yeah, and have you ever experienced anything with them kind of things?
Yeah, I done ayahuasca in Ecuador 2 years ago.
And what was it like?
It was it was an intense experience. I have a phobia of sick, so you had to be sick because it was like something called purging. But and you sit around like a fire with a load of other people. And then the first night I had just said, I don't need this, I can heal myself. But that was just probably the fear speaking.
Yeah.
But I still believe that my breath has been the most powerful out of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of went into that experience like just wanting to be changed, wanting to be like healed, you know.
Yeah.
So maybe I had too many expectations for it, and if I was to go and do it again, it would probably be a different experience because I wouldn't expect that much. I would kind of just surrender and like trust what that medicine would give me. But there's people that believe that breathwork can give us like altered states of consciousness too.
I think everyone's healing journey is so different too, because everyone just is so different. Everyone's experience is so different. So, but saying one thing to work for someone might not work for all. Do you feel like that, or do you feel like the breath work definitely would work for everyone?
No, I would never say like one modality is going to help someone, because I just believe that we're all different and we've all lived different lives and different experiences. So saying that that would help someone, I wouldn't really agree with that, because there's so many contraindications for the breathwork that people can't do it. So maybe people with like heart disease and hypertension and stuff like that, they're not able to go into a breathwork journey, so they would need a different modality to help them process trauma and stuff. I do know like somatics is something like that's with the body, so working with the body can really help like release stored emotions and traumas and things like that. So there's so many other modalities that can actually help people.
And you mentioned traveling. How did you think like traveling was a big step into finding yourself?
Yeah, I do feel like it really helped me. Like the very first time I went away, I had put this pressure on myself, so that as soon as I go away, I'm gonna be this completely different person. And then I realized that your like problems and worries follow you. Like it's not just leaving the country.
Happiness isn't a postcode. I always say, like, you can't just expect that from moving away. It's kind of like running away from your problems instead of facing them. They're always going to come back.
Yeah, and I believe that happiness is a choice. So instead of like going and searching for happiness, you have to kind of choose that happiness. And I think it comes from within inside.
And when did you then start your healing journey?
I feel like I've been on like a transformational journey, we'll say, for like 6, 7 years. From when I lost the weight, and then I kind of went into like meditation. I always was interested in meditation and journaling like that, things like that, and reading self-help books. But sometimes it gets to the point where you feel like you have to just take a pause from that because you're not getting any further. And that's what made me go into more like breath work and somatic meditation and breath work. I just feel like breath work and pushing yourself outside your comfort zone is something that has kind of helped me grow and become who I am, you know.
And was there a certain point in your life that you realized that you needed to change? Like, was there just like a switch, or did you slowly start becoming?
I feel like 6 or 7 years ago, I got a point where I was like, I am so uncomfortable in my body. I just don't want to feel like this anymore. And I was constantly drinking and going out all the time, and I really didn't really have a life, or didn't feel like I had a purpose or anything I wanted to even achieve. I didn't even know who I was. So when I thought I was gonna go traveling, I thought like, okay, this is gonna completely change my life. And obviously all the feelings and worries and problems came with me. So it wasn't just that I had to leave this country. Um, and then I realized that no, I have to actually look within to start this healing journey and change my life.
And where all did you travel to then whenever you started traveling, or how long were you traveling?
The first time was 8 months, and we went to Mexico, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Peru, Ecuador.
Oh my god, unreal.
I think I think that's it. And then last year we done Bali and Thailand.
Favorite place do you think that you went to?
I loved Costa Rica, but it was so expensive. But I'd probably say Bali or Thailand because they kind of have they've the fitness scene and they've got the healing side of it, and yeah, they kind of have everything that I would want.
Yeah, that you're into. So I
Yeah,
think Bali is my bucket list place. Like, I don't really care about going to like America or
yeah,
like even like, I don't know, like all them like European places and all. I would be happily never go to any of them if I could experience Bali and
yeah.
Thailand.
Oh my god, it was amazing. I would love to live there, like honestly.
I know. Do you ever see people that actually live in Bali and they're on their wee mopeds and like they're
Yeah,
just scooting about? I love that.
I'm putting it on my vision board because I want that for myself.
Yeah, to be living in Bali.
Yeah, I'd probably do a couple of months there. I don't think I would live there long term. I don't know. I went to not Costa Rica, Croatia
Mm-hmm.
this year, and I was like, oh my god, this place is amazing. Like we had a wee cabin in the forest away in its own, and that's kind of like my ideal.
Just living in a wee hut in the woods.
Yeah,
I feel like Kaylin, my boyfriend, he would love that.
yeah. Oh
That's just
my
not for
god.
me.
No, but I was really told it's unreal.
And you were talking about like going out and partying and all. I think like that's a big thing, especially like me and you probably would have, we were in the same places and going out at the same time. And I think it's so hard to get out of that mentality because art is drinking culture, and I feel like all around here that's kind of all you can do.
Yeah, you kind of get sucked into that cycle, and then it's like, well, what am I going to do this weekend? And I know this that could be just like kind of the mindset we have because we don't actually look for other things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a society and what you're kind of grew up around, and like if you've experienced something, you feel like, oh, I'll just have a drink, you know, and it'll wish away my problems or whatever. Or you're just working and then you're waiting for Friday, and then you go out and then you go back in on Monday, and it's the same cycle every week. And to me, that's not a life that I ever want to live.
No, I feel like COVID kind of changed my views on that. Like when you weren't able to go out and you weren't able to go see your friends every weekend, I remember thinking that was the be all and end all, like going out, drinking, partying, and like waiting for that. That's the kind of cycle
Yeah,
I was in. And then whenever COVID happened and you weren't able to do that, I was like, oh my god, I'm so much happier not having to
yeah,
do all that. And you felt like you had to because that's the only time you felt like you would see your friends and stuff.
yeah. And then if you said no, you'd feel like, left out or you weren't like important or whatever, so you had to go even if you didn't feel like it.
Yeah. And then I find too, would you have a drink now, or have you?
No, I don't think I've drank in over a year.
And do you find if you go to other things, do you find it hard to like be the one not drinking?
No, I used to at the start, like I'd feel like pressured, like they'd be like, "Oh, just take a drink," or be like, "Why are you not drinking?" And that made me feel like shit because I was like, "Well, this is my decision, and I don't want to have a drink." But people shouldn't peer pressure you into making you feel like you have to drink.
Yeah.
It's your life and it's your choice. But so I did sort of feel like that at the start when I decided not to drink. But now it's completely fine. Like, it doesn't bother me going out. I don't ever really go out. I went in the staff do on Saturday, but I was home like by 10:15 because I felt so sick. But like, it didn't bother me not drinking.
Yeah, I'm like that now. Like at the start, whenever I wasn't drinking, like just people saying stuff to you, or like I always got, "Are you pregnant?"
Yeah.
No, and being pregnant's not the only reason I don't want to
Mhm.
drink. I just don't want to drink, and I actually enjoy myself better now. Like remember my night, and like I used to always think I would have to have a drink to be able to socialize. Like I always thought I was so awkward if I didn't have a drink, and had to get over that like wee bit of liquid courage first.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I'd have like maybe like a sugar-free Red Bull to keep me awake.
Yeah.
And then the rest would just be like Coke Zeros and juice. Like,
Yeah.
and it really doesn't annoy me. And now I kind of forget that I'm not drinking
Yeah.
because it's just become the norm.
I just think it's so like toxic for your body too. I know there's so many things you can put in our body that's toxic, but for me, when I did drink, it was like a week of hangover. Like it just wasn't good, and it didn't help me in my mindset at all.
That's the exact same as me. I started getting that real bad anxiety where I remember going out one night and drinking and being in work the next day, and I was actually in a cafe and people were laughing, like just in their group, and in my head they were laughing at me.
Yeah.
And then whenever I came out, like I was freaking out and I was like, why are they laughing at me? Like getting real paranoid. And then I came out of it and I was like, that's my hangover talking to me. Like that's crazy that's making my brain think like that.
Yeah, like the voice in your head can like control your life, and until you actually like pause and be like, no, this isn't what I want to accept, and then you can start to change the narrative within your own head.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the way you talk to yourself is a big indicator of how you think and feel.
Yeah.
Like 100%. If you're constantly telling yourself, oh, they're laughing at me, or I'm so awkward, you're going to be awkward. Yeah. And you are going to think they're laughing at you because you're constantly telling yourself that. Yeah,
because I'm obsessed with Joe Dispenza. Have you heard of him?
No, who's he?
He's all about your brain and rewiring it, and how you think and act is who you become. And he believes that if your thoughts can make you sick, then they can make you well. And he's so much like research on how he focuses on meditation, which is actually insane that he does meditation, and like people who are in wheelchairs and they're able to walk and everything.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's actually mental. But he believes that once you start, like, instead of doing, because we always think of these goals that we're going to start doing these goals, but until you start actually embodying that version, because we always live in the past and we're repeating the same stories. And he was saying that 90% of our thoughts are the same as the day before. And if 90% of our thoughts are the same as the day before, then we're going to be living the same day over again.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, so he believes that in order to change your life, you have to start thinking, feeling, and acting differently. And I believe that too. Like, I feel like you are going to stay the same if you're doing the same things, thinking the same thoughts, and like embodying the same version. You'll never change. So I think once you start changing your thoughts and start acting differently, then your life will start to change.
Would you believe in like manifesting?
I do. I feel like years ago I would have manifested silly things without even knowing it.
You don't realise that you've manifested it?
Yeah. But at the minute, I do believe in it. I just sometimes think that some like focusing too much on the positive can like make us forget the negative, like push down the negative.
Yeah, because there's toxic positivity
too.
Yeah,
And that's what I worry about, with sometimes manifestation. And maybe if you kind of look at the science of it, that helps me understand it a wee bit more and helps me believe it a bit more, rather than just changing every negative thought to a positive.
Yeah, because that is unhealthy.
Yeah, you really have to be able to process them. Like,
I think too, like manifesting, like people would argue that manifesting, and then there's like God and that kind of way, or even just like energy and science. I always believe we're all arguing the same thing,
Yeah.
but we're not actually arguing existence. We're just arguing what way
Yeah.
to portray it. But I just do think it's a mindset. Like I always say, fake till you make it, and that's what I've done. Like I wouldn't be confident, and people always, whenever I say that, they're like, "Oh yeah, you are. Like you're definitely confident. You're able to do all this stuff." But I'm pretending to be confident and telling myself I'm confident, and just being this person that I want to be, and that's made me that person.
Yeah, it's embodying that version that you want to become, and then you start living it, you know. And I think once you start telling yourself of who you want to be, then you can actually feel it, and it's feeling that emotion and thinking the thoughts of that version so that you can actually like step into the version you want to be. Because if you're sitting feeling like, oh, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, then you're gonna live like that, you know.
And would you journal?
Yeah, I would journal every single day. Yeah.
What's your favorite like method of journaling?
Mine would always be just like a brain dump, and I know a lot of people would use like journal prompts and things like that. But I was just like completely write out what's going on in my head. Like, and some days that page is blank, and I just accept that, you know, maybe there's just nothing in my head. And then yeah, just like brain dump things onto my page, and then I would ask myself like, how do I want to feel, or who do I want to become, and like what type of life do I want? Because I feel like that's the stage I'm at the minute, is kind of like understanding where I want to go, because I feel like at the minute I'm kind of stuck in limbo. Like I know I don't want to be in Dungannon. So in the new year, like I'm really determined to like make that change and actually move away for good.
Where
So
are
I've
you
tried
thinking
2
of moving?
times. I've no idea. This is why I struggle, because I can't make a decision, and
I'm like that. I put myself, we were actually talking about that before, putting ourselves off, like talking ourselves out of things.
yeah, like I want to be in so many different places because of so many different reasons, but I just need to like focus on the next step and not worry about like where I want to end up long term, because I think that's the fear that I have. I'm like, what if I don't actually like this place long term, you know? So if
You
I
can
go,
always just move again.
yeah, no, that's what I need to remind myself. I need to be like, I can just leave. I don't have to stay here.
It's free will.
Yeah.
No, that's the way I am with like Australia as well. Like I just keep putting myself off, and like me and Kanan are constantly arguing about the date when we're going, and it is just me putting myself off because I'm afraid of like I'm afraid. I want to know exactly where we're going.
Yeah.
I need to know exactly where we're working. I need to have everything set out in a plan. I'm just such a planner in general.
Yeah.
But like to a bad way, where if anything goes off plan, I freak out and I'm like, this isn't what I planned. This isn't the way I wrote it in my list.
It's losing that sense of control.
Yeah, I'm a control freak through and through, and it's my biggest downfall. Like I'll ask people to help me do stuff, and then I'm like, oh, go away, like you're actually annoying me now. You're not doing it right. Where I need to learn to let other people take the rein, or even just ask them for help. I never would ask for help. I'm so like hyper independent, where I'm like, I don't need you to do this. Like I don't want to rely on someone else to help me. Where I need to be like, no, I actually can't do this by myself, and surrender to that, and be like, I do need your help. I would like a wee bit of help.
It's society thing though, like we're afraid to speak about our feelings, I think, and ask for help.
I have it in my head that if you speak about your feelings, you're being weak towards them, where you're not. Like
and I feel like once you kind of open up, that gives other people the space to be like, okay, well actually I'm not feeling great, and then you know you can speak about it and actually get that sense of relief because you've kind of offloaded it off your own head, you know.
And I feel like too, once like if you write something down or like you speak about it and you hear yourself say it, you're like, oh, that actually is a wee bit silly that I'm worrying about that. Like it's not as big a deal as I'm making it in my head.
That's what I feel like journaling really helps with, because I feel like we get sucked into that like negative spiraling in your head, and then you don't really know. Like some of the thoughts are just crazy, and they're not even realistic. And then if you just put them on the paper, then you're like, okay, well this is not realistic. This isn't what's happening. This isn't true, you know?
Yeah, you're actually seeing it in a completely different way.
Yeah.
And I think whenever you're in that like panic mode too, like everything seems like the end of the world.
Yeah, and then you're stuck in it though, and you don't really do anything to get yourself out of it. I feel like a lot of us will sit in the negative feeling, and we don't know, because we don't know how to like regulate our emotions or how to get ourselves out of that. And like one thing I've learned is just change your state, like change what you're doing, or take a few breaths and like change your physiology, you know.
And how would you do that other than like breathing? What would be your big way of like if you were in the moment and you're feeling yourself getting like that, what would you do?
I would probably get in an ice bath sometimes.
Oh, do you like the ice bath?
Yeah, I love them.
I actually loved cold water dipping and I was really into it for ages there and I just kind of went out of the way of it. But I remember actually going and feeling really sick. I would suffer real bad from migraines and we were all going down as a family to do a cold water dip in, what do you call that? Helen's Bay, where everyone goes, and going and doing it. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like, I really don't feel well. And coming out of it, like, my migraine just started to lift.
Yeah,
and I felt so good. It's crazy that
crazy.
works.
It's insane. Have you heard of Wim Hof? Sorry, I feel like I'm talking about so many different people.
No.
Have you heard of Wim Hof?
I've heard a wee bit about him, but like I wouldn't know much about him. I've seen County Down Under. She would go to him. Or do stuff like that.
Yeah, he's doing loads of research on how like cold exposure and breathwork can help literally like help people with like Parkinson's and so many other like Alzheimer's and everything and so many other diseases. And he's able to like raise his own like heat, you know, like he's able to raise his own body temperature actually, just through like his mind. And I think he shows how powerful like our mind is and how powerful our body is in order to like adapt to situations.
It really is. And I read a thing as well, and it was like everything to do with healing is already in your body. You just have to challenge it, like channel it, like even like healing wounds and stuff like that. Like we would have that in our body to be able to do it.
Yeah, like everything's within us. Like all the answers that we're seeking are within, but it's just we don't really know how to access that or understand it, you know,
or how to get them out.
Yeah.
Your biggest challenge to overcome mindset? Like, do you struggle with anything still? And you just like find it a bit harder to change your mindset of it?
It would be speaking in like public, you know. Even this is like
you were real nervous coming in.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. Like I always think that my words aren't enough or something. That I've always struggled with thinking that I wasn't smart enough or I don't know enough, and that's one thing that has really held me back. And I did a couple of weeks of coaching, like mindset coaching, on trying to fix that. And I do believe I know enough, but I am always chasing more. Like at the minute, I'm thinking of doing like a neuroscience degree. Like I just want to do more in order to have that like credibility sort of thing.
I feel like as well that's our age. Like you're trying to get all this stuff, and you kind of like, I know for myself for the business, I thought this isn't going to be successful unless I do it really young, and like it's not going to be impressive unless I do it from no age and do all this. But you're chasing that, and you'll be chasing that forever. But I think it's trying to figure out what you want to do, and then you're putting so much pressure on yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And I know I put so much pressure on myself because I'm always want to be learning and getting better. But if I'm always like doing courses and getting better and not actually doing the thing, I'll never get experience doing it.
Yeah, you're just jumping from one thing to the other instead of, I think it's better to be really good at one thing rather than doing mediocre at a million things.
Yeah, and that's sort of like me. I'm trying to like get so many things. I'm like, no, just take pause. And that's what my teacher had said. You know, once you do the breath work, just don't be trying to go on and doing another course. Just kind of sit with this and like integrate it and allow it to come as it is, and like do your experience and become experienced in that like field.
I think sometimes too, like criticism, that's kind of criticism that way, but like someone telling you that is so much better than people being like, oh no, you're doing amazing doing all these things. Yeah. I'd rather someone be like, no, sit down, shut up, do what you're doing. I kind of need that way too. And what do you see your future then, whenever you look and see what you actually want to do? Do you see a goal, or you're talking about your vision board? What's your vision board this year?
I have like fitness, and then I have like business things. So I kind of want to do I'll probably do another half marathon and a high rocks. I'm hoping to get tickets for.
I really want to get into. Have you started doing high rocks type training for it?
I done a simulation one. Yeah, me and my friend done one. And then the tickets for the Malaga in March go on sale this Thursday, so we're hoping to get tickets for that.
Oh my god, unreal.
I know. I just really love challenging my body, so I think that, and then maybe like a mini triathlon. So they're kind of my fitness things that I want to do. And then for my business, I would love to just be completely self-employed, and do this work and share this work and help people change their lives, because I just feel like it's so needed in this society. We're just so hurt and we don't really know how to like manage our emotions or like release our traumas or even understand our traumas. And so yeah, I want to be self-employed with that and hold more like group sessions, and one day eventually run my own retreats hopefully and combine fitness and breathwork together.
And then that's you doing those different courses is bringing you to your one thing,
Yeah,
like your one purpose.
yeah.
And you went to a retreat. What was it like, or what retreat did you go to? You were saying about the breath work.
No, it was only like a wee like intro to it. The actual retreat was ayahuasca retreat, and it was 12 days, I think it was, and then we had 3 or 4 ayahuasca ceremonies and San Pedro ceremonies.
And what's that? The San Pedro one?
San Pedro is like a cactus. And ayahuasca is a plant from the jungle. They have 2 plants from the jungle and they just mix it together and make this like medicine brew. But San Pedro is a cactus and it's sort of similar to like MDMA combined, or I imagined the whole experience like that. Whereas the other people maybe had like a different like spiritual experience, but I just felt like it was like a party sort of thing in that ceremony, and the ceremonies went from like 5 o'clock to like 1 the next morning.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I couldn't even do that. And now you see yourself, you're saying you go to bed at like 7 o'clock.
Yeah. It was intense. It was a really intense sort of retreat, and it was intense on the body and stuff like that because you would have been purging a lot. And it was eye-opening, but I think I just went into it hoping that I was come out a completely different person, and I didn't. So
you felt like you hadn't got what you were wanting.
Yeah, and I feel like when you're going into things like that, you have to be like so careful too, and you need to understand kind of what it is you're going into and your intention. Like I don't even think I set an intention or anything like that. I just kind of was like, I need to change because I hate myself. You know?
Yeah.
So I had too much pressure on it and too many expectations on it to.
I think too you need to research so much on stuff like that too, because health and wellness, it is a big trend now, and like being spiritual, I feel like is a trend. But people aren't actually like, they're doing it because they think that's what they need to do, but they're not actually spiritual. They're just doing these wee like things that they've seen on TikTok or they've seen online, and like, oh well, this works for such and such. It should work for me, but like they don't actually know what they're doing.
Yeah, and I feel like spirituality is such like it is a trend, and it can mean different things to different people. Like I would say I'm spiritual, but some people are way more spiritual. You know, they're more connected and stuff like that there. And I feel like I'm more connected to like nature and stuff like that, and that's where I kind of fit in the spirituality aspect. Like I understand that we are nature and we're all connected, and I believe in that. But I'm also like interested in the moon, but like I don't really know anything about it, you know.
Yeah.
I kind of just go by what I see online, but you know, there's different like aspects of being spiritual, and it doesn't have to like be a certain way. Like you don't have to have all the crystals and all this thing. It's whatever you feel is right, and whatever connection you have to yourself, I think, is what it really means.
And again, like spirituality it's such a broad topic. Again, like mindset, spirituality, and believing in God's spirituality. And again, you're just arguing the same thing, but a different word for it.
Yeah.
Which I think people, I just like religion and all that there in general, it's such a broad thing, and it's so hard. There's man-made religion and stuff, but once you just start to break it down, I feel like you would learn so much more too.
Yeah, it's sort of about like removing the beliefs or the conditioning that we've been told. And well, if you're religious, that's completely fine, but I mean, like if you feel like you aren't connected to that, then like taking a pause and asking yourself, well, what feels right for me, instead of following what everyone else is doing.
You're following the crowd.
Yeah.
I think that's such a big thing too, like coming out of your comfort zone. Nothing ever good happens within your comfort zone, but everyone's so afraid to step out of it.
Yeah, well, I feel like that's understandable because it's comfortable, it's familiar, and in order to like change or grow, you kind of have to step outside your comfort zone, and it is going to feel uncomfortable and unfamiliar, and then when
Scary.
when we feel that like uncomfortableness, then we'll be like, oh no, I'm just gonna go back to my comfort zone.
Yeah.
You just have to kind of push past it, and then that's where like the real growth comes.
And how did you feel like whenever did you get a moment when you felt like you were getting out of your comfort zone, or how did you push past that yourself?
I feel like every time, like I even going to all my courses, like when I done my PT course, like that was out of my comfort zone. And then when I was told I had to stand up and speak, I would have shit myself. I was like, no, I can't do this. Like I would have heart palpitations. And even now, like when I go to do my group sessions, I would still have heart palpitations. So I would still say like I'm still working through that.
I have really bad gym anxiety, even though I've been going for ages.
Yeah.
And I'll constantly tell myself, I'm like, oh, I'm not fit enough for that. But I went and done, I thought it was a boxercise class, but it was actually CrossFit.
Oh
and I actually loved it.
Yeah.
And whenever I was doing it, I was like, oh my God, I actually can do this.
Yeah.
And like, I've started kickboxing, I've started doing it. And I really want to train Muay Thai in Thailand. Like, that's one thing I really want to do. I didn't think, I was like, oh, I'll do boxing. I actually started in karate. And I loved it. And then I went on and done a like one-to-one boxing session, and I really, really love it. And I feel like my fitness has went up so much. And that was one thing as well. I was like, oh my God, boxing, I'm never going to be able to do that. And I really surprised myself. So I'm telling myself I'm going to do Hydrox.
Yeah.
Even if I don't do it, I'm going to train it.
Yeah, I feel like the way like tell ourselves we can't do it. Like I always told myself, no, I can't run. And I was able to run a half marathon. And then I kind of just got fed up. Like I was just doing weight training sessions all the time, and I was
you
like,
get so bored.
Yeah, I was doing it for years, like 5 or 6 years. And I was like, I need a change. So like this year, that's kind of when I kind of went more like hybrid, like running, more conditioning style and the high rocks. And I think I done a few like CrossFit classes, but I just kind of love that high rocks really, really challenges you, and it has like 8K in it and all the different like training stations. So it is intense, but I feel like I love that.
Yeah, the intensity of it.
Yeah.
And then have you done the half marathon, didn't you?
Yeah, I done it in September.
And how did you find it? I actually went up to the marathon. Me and Keenan's friends were in the marathon and watched them come over the finish line. Like we actually seen it, someone coming across and their hamstring just snapped, and you could see it happen. I was like, you're never allowed to do anything like that. My heart would be in my mouth the whole time.
Oh my God. No, it was amazing. But I ran over a granny at the end of it.
Oh, stop.
And I just felt like I couldn't like really appreciate that I just ran half marathon without stopping. Like I did not stop once.
Oh my God.
No, I completely mowed her. Like it was so bad. But like the man was like, run so fast, you get it in this time. So I just completely legged it, and I could not stop. I didn't even see her. She was like, we help her, and she must have like been reaching over to get water or something. And of course, like when I was looking at my time, there's a video of it.
Oh, stop!
I know. I was like, oh my God. Like I felt so bad, because I was like, I can't even like enjoy this, and I've just like hurt that wee granny. She was grand. Like I couldn't even lift her up because my legs, like I stopped after running.
And then you just shaking, don't you?
Yeah, I was like, I cannot even lift you. So some man had to like help me lift her up.
Oh my God.
I know, it was so funny, but so bad.
I think the marathons too, like, see the atmosphere of the marathon. Like I was like, I actually want to start running just for that. I still haven't started running. I just don't enjoy it yet. And I've heard loads of people say that like you have to get past a certain time, like your 7th run or something, and you'll end up starting to love it. I actually come back grumpier from a run. I'm like, I hate this.
I think it just depends. Like I feel like sometimes you'll see things on Instagram, but like, oh, I have to run or whatever. But for me, I just kind of wanted something different, and yeah, like I gradually built my fitness levels to be able to run that. Like, and I had a wee like program too to help me with that. But I don't know what it is. Like, there's something about running that has made me feel like so free or something. Like, and it has been like a way to like shift my mood so many times. Like I think I went a run like 2 weeks ago, and I was kind of like feeling a bit meh, or like just can't really be bothered with things. And then I went for a run, and it's like shifted everything for me. Like, and I still am feeling that shift within myself, you know.
And I suppose running as well, like you said, you're so like you feel like you're so connected with nature. You being out in nature and doing that is such a big like everything for you then.
Yeah, like I feel like I prefer running around like country roads than in the town, and I know it's probably like not that safe to run around the country roads, but
It's not really that safe to run around in the town either.
Yeah. I definitely prefer like being out in the country, like amongst the trees and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think once I get past I hate running, I would enjoy that too. 'Cause in the mood where I'm like, oh, I just don't want to do this anymore, and I don't push myself past that. Once I get that in my head, I'm like, oh no, I don't want to do this, and then I put myself in a bad mood, where I think I need to learn to stop telling myself that.
But then sometimes like not forcing yourself to do things that you generally don't enjoy, I think, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a lot of us are like feel like we have to do certain things. But if you just like actually take a pause and be like, do I want to do this? Like, how is this gonna make me feel?
Yeah, and like I'm feeling because everyone else enjoys it, like you have to do it.
Yeah.
It's again saying about the like everything's becoming a trend, like running's become a trend.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh well, she's running, or such and such an Instagram's running.
Yeah.
I need to learn to run, or like feeling bad that you don't enjoy it.
Yeah, and it's so that's like that comparison. Like you feel like you need to be doing things because everyone else is doing it, and that's how they're living their lives. And also like Instagram is a complete highlight reel. Like we think it's so like glamorized or something. Maybe
yeah. And no one puts on what actually is really happening.
Yeah, like if you don't enjoy it, then don't do it, you know?
Yeah, and again, like I think Instagram and like social media can be the best place in the world, but at the same time be the worst, like the most toxic. Like you said, it's a highlight reel. You don't actually see everyone's nitty and gritty. And then some influencers and stuff would put on like how like bad things happen in their life, and I think that needs to be more. Like they need to just everyone needs to do that. And obviously not go into the depths of everything that's going through your brain or everything that's going in your life, but I think being more, again, that toxic positivity.
Yeah, because I feel like we're always comparing ourselves to other people's highlight reel, and then that makes us feel so shit within ourselves, like,
and it's not even real.
Yeah, you know, we're comparing ourselves to a life that's not even real, you know.
It's fiction.
Yeah,
I know, and everyone needs to be perfect, but there's genuinely no such thing as perfect, because my idea of perfect is different to your idea of perfect.
Yeah, 100%.
So perfect's just not real.
No, and I feel like everybody needs to like take a break from social media. I feel like we're so sucked into it, and it's so easy to get sucked in. Like I get sucked in, but it's so unhealthy for our like mental health, because you're not even in the world. Like you're kind of like in this like phone social media, like not even taking in how you're feeling, because it's like a cheap dopamine, you know, like taking you away from it all. Whereas we need like real dopamine, which is like nature, connection with each other and ourselves.
And it's a quick hit too. Like you could be scrolling and forget. It's like drinking and all too. It's you're scrolling and you're forgetting everything that's going on around you, and then as soon as you come off it, you're sucked back into it. So that's why you get into that cycle of, oh, I'm just gonna sit here, I'm gonna scroll, or I'm gonna go for a drink, and you're just constantly again chasing that wee bit of satisfaction.
Yeah, and I feel like if social media had like a closing time, you know, like shops have, like that would be so good.
That would actually be brilliant.
Like actually speak to each other and connect. Like no wonder we're so disconnected from each other, because we're glued to our phones all the time. I want to talk, like, but
I think that too. Like there now, my granda and his girlfriend were up, and I picked up myself. Me and my granda were just sitting on our phones, sitting beside each other. Hadn't even spoke to each other really. And with them, Mummy and Mary, they were talking, and me and granda were just sitting there, just sucked in. And he never came up once for breath. Like office.
No, it is. It's not a way to live like it. So I just feel like we need to like take a break from it all. I'm hoping to go on a silent retreat, the 10-day one, so I can really disconnect.
And what's it? What's a silent retreat? It's
like
know about all these things. I just think of a retreat as like going and doing yoga.
Yeah, no. I've only recently heard about this. Someone I knew went, and she said it was amazing. So I think it's down south, and it's literally just 10 days of meditation.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and you're not allowed to speak.
Well, for 10 days?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I find that so hard. I'm such a chatterbox, like.
Yeah, it's meant to be like a lot, but I don't know. I feel like it would be very transformational, or I'm not really sure. I'd be like just curious and open to see what would come from it, you know?
Yeah, like not speaking, I feel like would be hard, but I feel like it would be so relieving. Like I feel like you do feel like you need to speak all the time.
Yeah.
Or if you're not speaking, especially say if you're in like a social situation, I feel like I need to be part of the conversation all the time. I'm not actually listening to what anyone's saying. I'm constantly being like, oh, how am I going to reply to that? Or you know, that kind of way.
Yeah,
Like you're
yeah.
constantly
Like,
thinking
you're
of
not
what you're
even
going to say next.
Yeah, you're not thinking about the person, what they're saying. You're thinking about how am I going to say it? Like,
Yeah, or like,
yeah,
yeah, it's weird. And like you're so in your own head, you're not enjoying anything.
yeah. 100%.
I'm so bad for that. Or like, I'll skip, like someone will be talking and I'll be like, all right, I'm going to say this. And then I'm going past and then I'm like, oh, how do I work this back into the conversation?
Yeah, I'm the same. Where you're like just rehearsing what you're going to say and then they've moved
so
on.
Bad.
You're like, oh. But I think that's like a fear for a lot of us. We don't want to be in silence. We don't want to be on our own, like sit with ourselves.
Yeah, and you're constantly trying to fill that gap.
Yeah.
No, that would definitely be me. And like, even thinking like going on the phone, I would like sit and rehearse what I'm going to say to the people on the phone. Like it's so bad. Or even see if I have to. I'm so bad at communicating. Like in my relationship, where I would practice what I'm going to say to him. Like when I'm angry about something, I'm like, right, I'm going to say it like this, and I'm going to be so brave. I'm not going to cry. And then I come in and he says one thing. I'm like, this is all scratch. What am I going to say? And then I just sit with a big head on my.
Yeah, you just have to kind of maybe take a pause. Well, I find that so hard, like especially when you're in a situation where you kind of want to react.
Yeah.
It's like taking that pause so that you can respond in like a different manner, or even just like writing down what you want to say and then just showing them.
I come in my notes.
I do that.
Do you come in with a notebook?
Yeah. Or even just on your phone, just because I feel like in like a situation like that, I don't like articulate myself very well, and
yeah,
like that's one thing I actually struggle with. Like I feel like my vocabulary and like my words aren't smart enough. I know that's coming back to me thinking that I don't know enough, but yeah, like in a discussion or something, like a heated discussion, I'd be like, no, I don't know what to say, so I need like a minute.
Or like how to word it.
Yeah, like, and if I feel like I'm a lot better at like writing things down.
I used to do that with my mummy when I was younger. Like always, if I needed to tell her something, write her wee notes like all the time. Or like if I was scared to tell her something, or just in general, I would leave it outside her door. Where I feel like I can write so much better.
Yeah, like you can kind of like get your point across a lot better.
Or even like if I'm like want to talk to someone about something, I'll always text, and then I feel like that's kind of like hardly getting out of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just how I get things across better. Like if I'm in the heat of a moment, I'll say things that I really don't mean.
Yeah.
And just I'll get more angry and like more heated.
Yeah. Whereas if you take that kind of pause and then you're like, well, let me just figure out what I actually want to say instead of rushing into it.
Yeah, and then that's whenever you do start to regret things. Yeah. Whenever you do rush in there. Mm-hmm. Or like you say things out of anger. Where I love like if something has annoyed me, I never act on it anymore. Like right away, I'll think about it, sleep on it, and if I wake up the next morning it's still annoying me, I'm like, right, I need to address this because it'll play on my mind then. Yeah,
exactly. And I think that's actually something that we all struggle with is speaking how we feel. Like if there is something that has bothered you and you don't want to say anything, then you're like shoving that down in you, and then they're kind of having resentment towards the other person, you know, if you don't say how you truly feel. And then it bubbles up to you, I think, and then you're just constantly like, it'll bubble up and then it becomes a big thing and then everything comes out, and then or like something small happen and all their irrelevance will start coming out, and just every part of who they are, you're like, no, this is you made me feel like this. One question I love to ask is, what's one thing you would tell your younger self, or if you were having, would you ever do like inner child work? Yeah, I have done some. I feel like I should do more of that. I love inner child work. I always imagine just me when I was younger and like discussing with her. What would you say to your younger self, even in school or any age? I would just say that you are worthy and that you can use your voice to speak your truth. Because I feel like that's something I really, really struggle with, is using my voice. So yeah, and that you're loved and accepted in all that you are. We love that. Mm-hmm. And would you have struggled that even when you were younger? Do you find like if you just think back, you've always struggled with that? Yeah, 100%. Your voice is so powerful. Even like you're doing, instead of Vlogmas saying Linemas, like that's so different. And like I love watching it, and I love waiting on it and seeing what you're going to say next. And like your voice is so powerful. So for you to say that, I think that's crazy. Yeah, like that you struggle with that, because seeing you and like talking to you, you wouldn't think that. I know people do say that, and I remember when I was like traveling, I done like a bit of solo traveling, and like some girl had just sat down beside me, and I was telling her, yeah, like I'm quite shy, and I know this is like the story we tell ourselves we shouldn't, but yeah, I was like, I'm quite shy and not really talkative or whatever. She's like, really? I would never have thought that. And I was like, okay, well, that kind of made me realize I need to stop telling myself this, and I when I was doing the mindset coaching, she helped me understand that somebody else gave me that label that I'm shy, and I've held on to that for so many years. And when I was doing that coaching, I realized that I don't have to be attached to that label. I can detach and create a new one, you know?
Yeah, it's all within you. Like,
Yeah.
it is like outside validation is the worst thing ever. Like, say if you're constantly seeking outside validation, you're never going to be happy, because no matter what you do, if you're the best person in the world or the worst person in the world, someone's going to have something to say about it.
Yeah, 100%.
And I feel like I really struggled with that, and I'm now getting to the point where I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely don't care. Like, if someone has something to say about me now, I'm what?
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing what makes me happy. I'm happy with it myself, and I really don't care anymore if you're happy with it or not, because it's not going to affect me.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we really, really struggle with, though, is like the judgment of others, and that like holds us back from so much. Like,
Definitely.
the fear of what other people are going to think. But then I try and remind myself is like, we are here for such a short time, and like if we zoom out, like this fucking universe is actually mental.
That's what I always say to myself. I'm like, we're literally living on a floating rock in the
Yeah.
middle of space. Like, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, and we wonder like why we get so caught up in like what somebody is gonna say, like, because it's not that deep.
It's really not that deep. And like, I just do, because I feel like, because I've experienced that with loss the past couple of years, I've started to realize like life is so short. Like, even time's going by so fast at the minute. Like,
Yeah,
and it's scary to think about, but then it makes you appreciate like the now, because I would always be stuck in the present, like the past, and never really experience the present.
Mm-hmm.
And I do struggle with like kind of reverting back to my trauma. Like, I'll always like, it'll come back into my brain sometimes, or like, I don't know, it just always seems to come up. And now I'm starting to, I think, losing Nami, I'm like, no, I need to really live now, because it's not promised. Like, you could live to 70, or you could live to 30.
Tomorrow's not promised.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we're always like waiting for the perfect time to start something, and then we never start, you know.
That's
we're
like
holding on to something, you know.
Yeah, you're constantly like, oh, after this.
Yeah.
Like, again with Australia, or even this, like, I talked about this in February, like putting it off that far, and it's like, oh well, I need to get a good camera, I need to get like proper setup, I need to like have a space that's not the salon to do it in case the girls are in the salon. I'm like, do you know what? If I'm waiting for all that time, I'm never gonna do it.
Yeah.
It's the same with Australia. Like, I have been putting it off loads, like I said, and like being like, oh well, like my friend's having a baby, I need to be here for the baby, and I am going to be here for her having the baby. And then the more I was like, oh well, this is going to happen this year, such and such is engaged, I need to go to like all their like wedding stuff, and if I did that, something's going to be happening all the time.
Yeah.
I'm never going to do it. Or like, if I keep saying I need to save my money, I need to save loads of money, and I could be saving forever and still be putting it off. Like, the goal will get bigger.
Yeah, like I just think we talk ourselves out of things because we're like fear, like there's fear of failure, fear of judgment, or whatever it is, and then we just never ever start. But if we just understand that just starting could be like life changing, you know.
And like, the start of something might just be you're starting it and it doesn't work out. Where I'm all, like you said, you're afraid of like going and moving somewhere and not wanting to be there forever.
Yeah.
But like, you can start and then start again.
Yeah, that's it. You know, you can just change. You don't have to be stuck in the one place.
Last question. What does the word beauty mean to you? Like, if you really think about it, like, if you think of beauty, what do you think of? And like, it doesn't have to be like beauty, the standard of beauty and stuff like that. Like, the word beauty.
The beauty. Oh, that's a deep question.
It's a hard one, isn't it?
That is a hard one. Beauty in terms of like ourselves, I feel like that has to be like inner self-love. And then beauty, I feel, when I think of beauty, it's like nature, like the awe of nature. Like, just makes me feel like that's complete beauty, you know.
Like sunsets and
like anytime I'm in nature or surrounded by like a beach or a forest or whatever, I just think, whoa, this is just, it's just complete magic. I think, you know, like even the moon last night was insane.
Yeah, I actually seen it yesterday, and I was like, I think actually, yeah, we were in the kitchen in Kingdoms. I'm such a like, oh my god, look at the moon. Like, like stuff like that, or like bring people outside. And he actually done it this time, and I was like, it's flipping off.
Yeah, and I feel like instead of like thinking beauty as like covering our like beauty, it's important to know that we are beautiful on the inside, and it's not what you actually look like, you know?
Yeah, like your body is just a vessel.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, it's getting you from A to B. It's like a car.
Yeah.
It's getting you from A to B. It's not who you are, your soul.
Yeah, and I feel though that in the society we are made to believe that our body is what we're worth, you know?
Yeah.
When it's not. Like we're worth so much more than how our body looks.
Yeah, I love that. It's a perfect answer. Have a wee nosy at your makeup?
Oh whoa.
Do you like it?
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
Would you go very glam in your makeup whenever you're doing that?
Maybe not this glam, no. It's so weird to see me with so much makeup.
That's what everyone says. It feels so different.
Yeah, oh my god.
And here's your wee RYN gift set. So your
Thank you.
lipstick that you're wearing is in it, and then
gorgeous.
There's 2 lip oils, and then your wee matching liner.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.